We never know where life will lead us or what may hinder us along the way. But while every day can feel like one big question mark, it doesn't have to. With the right insights, strategies, and solutions from Western and Southern Financial Group, together we can look ahead to leave the unknown behind.
We have a fantastic podcast lined up today. Not only are we officially in the season de la draft season, fresh off the Super Bowl. I got the fresh cut with the little hair product in there, the new kicks, ready to rock and roll. But I got two very, very good dad stories. I'm giving you a twofer today. I said I'd do the shotgun story on Thanksgiving, but I'm also going to stitch this other story in as well that comes with a visual courtesy of Mike Quinn. Let's start with
I didn't know that.
The shotgun story. So I've had a handful of long-term relationships in my life, 5 to 6, but only two have ever met my parents. One time, one of the first times one of my girlfriends met my dad or my mom. Oh, and my mom, a stepmom. We go to Thanksgiving. It's a good time. And while we're there, my grandma, who lives with my dad, is like the same grandma that has been part of this for a while.
Who took a rap?
No, that's my great grandma.
Oh, okay.
My other grandma's still alive and she's rocking. But on Thanksgiving, we're noticing that she keeps there's this for the first time ever in my life, my dad's house has a blanket over the couch. You know how some old people have blankets on their couch for whatever reason? We had a blanket on our couch. I'm like, what the hell is this? I don't know if he's trying to doll it up for the girl I brought over or my girlfriend at the time or whatever it was. But my grandma the entire time, as people sit down, she'd go over and adjust it. She made sure it was always in pristine condition. And I'm like, what the is going on? This doesn't make any sense. I'm talking about it with my girlfriend. It's I don't really know what's going on, blah, blah, blah. My dad on holidays, surprising no one, gets hammered, absolutely hammered. And I'm going to preface the rest of the story, by the way. My dad's a moron. This is a bad decision. Don't make these decisions, okay? This is not a good decision.
These are bad.
This is bad. My dad gets pretty hammered on holidays, and which is totally fine. I mean, everyone does, but he kind of takes it to another level. And then by the time all the family's over, but at the end of the holiday, my dad's just drunk and it's just me, my girlfriend and I are staying at the house, and it's my grandma that's left. It's just us four that are really left at the house. My dad starts talking about, recent events or whatever, how things been and all this stuff. And he's like, oh man, I didn't tell you. He says he recently got a shotgun. And he was like, yeah, I got a shotgun just in case anyone breaks into the house. I got to kill somebody. I was like, that doesn't seem safe for you to own a gun. It's wild that you have one. He's like, yeah, honestly, I made a big mistake recently too. Apparently he got really drunk and was holding the gun and had it in his hand and was saying hey, if anyone comes in, blah, 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 I'm going to get somebody. And it was unloaded. He was like, it's unloaded, it's fine. I wasn't there. This was a couple days ago or whatever, before Thanksgiving. He's with my grandma. My grandma, I call her Noni. When you're Italian, you call your grandma Noni. That's kind of a thing. But Noni's you can't be, I don't care if it's unloaded. Put that gun away. No one wants to see this. This is crazy. And he's like, I'm telling you, it's unloaded. He sticks the gun into the couch, to muffle it or whatever, if it was loaded, and just shoots it. And it has a bullet and it blows a hole through the couch in the back of the wall that the couch is against. And that was why the blanket was there the whole time. And then I'm dying laughing, even though gun violence is not a joke. Don't play with guns, all that stuff. But dying laughing because my grandma's literally trying to cover the hole the entire day, but there's a hole in the back of his house. It's incredible. It was incredible. But on the theme, I can't believe I haven't told this story. So my dad makes a ton of bad decisions. And this is another fantastically bad decision that is great. So my dad and I got into it late in high school, and I wasn't living there for a little bit. And I was living with someone else, whatever. He texts me one day. He sends me a picture of his arm, and it's a tattoo. It's my name, but it's spelled A-U-S-T-O-N, down his arm. I'm with my buddy, what the hell just happened? I'm crying, laughing. I'm I text my dad, I'm like, dude, my name is Austin. He immediately called with an I, obviously. He immediately calls me. He's like, no way. Like, you're kidding. Don't make these jokes. Like, you're kidding. Like, this is not, like, this has to be a joke. I've had your name in my phone as AUSTON for a long time. I was like, how the fuck do you even have that? That makes no sense. That doesn't even, you sound it out, motherfucker. I've seen Austin with an E. I've never seen Austin with an O. So then he's like borderline in tears. I'm in tears laughing. And then I'm thinking about, so I've said this before. You always have to think about my dad's stories with the other people in the stories involved. Think about the tattoo artist who's like, dude, you're getting this? Because the tattoo artist can't be saying, are you sure your son's name is freaking Austin? He's not going to double check him. I'm just going
to search Austin to see if there's any.
There might be.
There's an Austin Matthews who plays hockey.
Okay.
Maybe a Canadian. Okay.
There might, maybe there was. Either way, my dad, the tattoo artist obviously didn't say anything. And he gets it and he's like, feels like an asshole, whatever it was. He ends up getting like a small I tattooed in the middle of it. This is the funniest part, the correction. He gets a small little I tattooed in the middle of the O and then uses the O like a fucking crossword puzzle. And it says like God across the side. So with that being said, there's probably a lot. I've had some people in the YouTube comments say these stories are fake. Dad doesn't seem real. There's no way. Quinn, if you're watching on YouTube, throw the fucking image up.
I am looking at the picture right now, and it's real as can be. Unless your Photoshop skills got real good. I
texted my dad over the weekend. I was like, dude, you got to send me a picture because I'm trying to tell the story on the podcast. And he's like, oh, man, I hate this story. But he sent it to me anyway. It's hilarious. But
all right, I'm looking at it now. The correction is brutal.
It's horrendous. It's arguably worse than the original tattoo.
Yeah.
That's not his fault, though. That's the tattoo artist.
Yeah, that tattoo artist kind of butchered him there. Because the
spacing between the G and
is
the
hanging.
It's rough.
Just hanging out in the middle of his bicep.
So, but what's funny about, I'll finish with this and then we'll get into the podcast. I apologize for taking this long. But what's funny is that my dad and I worked together after that at some point. We're like relationship mended and worked together at a mechanic shop. And everyone at the mechanic shop called me Austin. Like everyone like made fun of him. And it was freaking fantastic, dude. So fantastic. He also has the tattoos of my other siblings' names on his, and they're spelled right. Fortunately, you don't really see that often, but it's an incredible story. The entire football team in high school was like, called me Austin for a while. It was freaking hilarious, dude. Insane stuff. My dad, bad decisions left and right. Like I said, he's a role model. Just don't do what he does. Yeah. If you don't follow in his footsteps.
Anti-role model. What's the
anti-role model?
Yeah,
all right.
An anti-hero.
Let's go ahead and get into the podcast here. Super Bowl reaction. This was an insane game. Not a lot of people saw this coming. If there was going to be a blowout in this Super Bowl, I think people were expecting the Kansas City Chiefs to blow the Tampa Bay Buccaneers out. They were favored by 3.5 at some points in the 2-week stretch over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa Bay at Raymond James Stadium. Like, people were expecting the Kansas City Chiefs to go into Tampa Bay and win this football game. They scored 9 points, no touchdowns, get blown out by Tom Brady, Todd Bowles, Bruce Arians, and give Brady his 7th ring. What are your initial takeaways, your initial reactions?
Did we talk about this? I can't remember now. I talked about it with someone, and I'm like, I just don't see how the Chiefs are the Chiefs offense. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Patrick Mahomes and you have, and they do have like an all-pro receiver. All receivers are like all pros, whatever. You can't operate a consistent offense with an offensive line that was going to be that overmatched. Like, yes, Andy Reid should have adjusted and to protect Mahomes better, should have done something to make sure he wasn't under pressure as much as he was and to help that offensive line out. But there's only so much you can do when you have an offensive line that every single position is liable at a very high rate to lose on that given play. Like, it's not just that there's one mismatch. You can scheme around Aaron Donald being so much better than your left guard. Like, if you have a backup at left guard, you could scheme around that. You can't scheme around every single guy being overmatched along your offensive line. And the only thing, and like, Patrick Mahomes so good that he convinced us all that he could do it. But I think we saw at the end of the day that it's still football. And there's still, when you have that big a disadvantage in the trenches, that you're screwed. Like, there's no recourse. You can get by for a little. You can have maybe like some explosive plays. And I love the Bucs game plan to just basically say, our front four is going to kick your ass. We're not going to give you any explosive plays. Drive down the field on us. 2 safeties deep.
Yeah.
Like, put a drive together without taking that big negative play, without having a sack, without having pressure blow up multiple plays in a row. And they took that gamble, and it
They ran a lot of good games and stunts, too. Like, they were rushing forward, but they also did a lot of good stunts that had the offensive line in a tiz.
And that's why, like, end of the first quarter or so, or like midway through the second quarter, I was like, this game is over. The Chiefs are not – there's no turning it around with the Chiefs. They're too overmatched up front to have any chance, and that was it.
What was your reaction to the game plan Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy had? You saw the Next Gen Stats stat that said they were in 5-man protections 92% of the time. Did not keep a lot of guys in the block. No 6-man, 7-man protections. Were you surprised by that? Because I went into the game thinking, well, Andy Reid's smart. Andy Reid's smart enough to know this is going to be a mismatch, and you're going to see an adjustment. I know he loves to have 5 on a route, and so does Mahomes, but you're going to have to keep running backs and tight ends into block, and they did it. Did that surprise you at all?
Yeah, I mean, I do think Andy Reid deserves as much, if not more, blame than Patrick Mahomes.
I agree with that 100%.
He didn't call a good game whatsoever.
Out-coached.
To that. But again, it goes back to there's not much you can do. If you're going to call max protects and they're sitting with 2 deep safeties, you're not getting deep shots anyways. You're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. There's really not much they could have. You could try that, but I don't think it was going to be much of a difference if they did.
What about the lack of play action passes? Was that just a part of game script? Or I think Patrick Mahomes only had 3 play action dropbacks in this game.
That is surprising. I do think, though, with the Bucs defense, they've eaten up play action. You saw them that first Packers game when the Packers started doing boot action. They'll just tack right at the quarterback. They don't really care. And I think we saw that earlier. Shaquille Barrett had on an RPO or a early play action pass. Barrett went right after Mahomes, didn't even respect the run because they don't have to respect the run because their defensive line's that good at stopping the run. They can sell out to stop the pass seemingly. So yeah, I think the biggest takeaway that I had was the Bucs were the most talented team in the NFL this year. It was either the Bucs or the Saints in terms of just top to bottom roster talent. You look at how many positional units on this team you would put in the top 5: quarterback, receivers, offensive line, defensive line, linebackers, their secondary. Those are all top 5 units, their respective position. That was the best team. It was only because nothing was meshing offensively.
The transition.
And the sort of were always less than seemingly the sum of their parts. But this was a damn good football team that kind of just had that lull throughout the early and mid-season. And I think we kind of saw that. They were the better team in that game in terms of talent-wise.
I think the major takeaway for me was that Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy quite simply got out-coached. Todd Bowles put on an absolute display defensively. He was in his bag. He was one of the better, performers in that game in terms of what he did and running the 2 high, running the stunts up front, making them beat him with underneath passes. And after that initial flurry of some screens and some quick game, the Patrick Mahomes was in a negative game script, had to push the ball downfield and couldn't. And yes, you could argue this was the worst or one of the worst games we've ever seen from Patrick Mahomes. But he was forced to be a superhero with 92% of the time, only 5-man protections, under pressure on over 55% of his dropbacks, a ton of which were in the first 2.5 seconds of the snap. He had to be a superhero. He had to take 80-yard dropbacks. He had to throw out of platform and all those things. Patrick Mahomes was forced to do the unthinkable, and Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy quite simply did not put him in a position to succeed. The injuries didn't help, and I get that, and some of that stuff is hard to overcome, but I don't think you can put so much of the blame. I think you said it perfectly. I think you should shift more of the blame onto the offensive coaches for the Kansas City Chiefs than onto Patrick Mahomes, because I think he did everything in his power. He had some of the most impressive throws I've ever seen this season in this game. The one where he's completely horizontal, 30 yards into the end zone. That was a dropped pick too, though. Devin White has his hands on that as well. But the other one, the Tyreek Hill off platform, he did. The one to Byron Pringle in the corner, he did some insane things in this game. Was it his best game? No. One of his worst? Absolutely. But I still don't think you put a bulk majority of the blame on him. It's Reid and it's Bieniemy for not understanding the mismatch they had in the trenches and not accounting for it with extra protection, quick game, whatever they had to do to mitigate it. They just didn't.
Also, I want to say someone else who deserves a ton of credit. Bucs GM, Jason Licht. Their drafting over the past 3 years, exceptional. They have knocked it out of the park. Just the talent they've added. Vita Vea, Carlton Davis, Devin White, Sean Murphy-Bunting, Jamel Dean, Tristan Wirfs, Antoine Winfield on the first 3 rounds. To have those guys, 7 impact starters. That's
insane.
That's how you draft. And their insistence on replenishing their secondary paid off massive dividends.
Even after, that's the thing that doesn't get enough credit for.
The best, weakest link in their secondary probably in the NFL. Sean Murphy-Bunting was their weakest link in the secondary their whole season. What do you have, 2 picks in the playoffs?
And a key pass breakup in the end zone.
Yeah, like that was their weakest link. That is how you have a good pass defense, is to have the strongest, weakest link in the NFL, one of the strongest, weakest links in the NFL.
Something I wanted to add to that, because I also tweeted how they invested in the secondary over the past 3 seasons has been bonkers. But it came after 2 drafts in 2016 and 2017 where they invested high picks in Vernon Hargreaves and Justin Evans, and those didn't pan out. But that didn't stop them. That's the thing. Like they didn't say, oh man, we grabbed cornerback last year, we can't keep investing. No, they said we're going to invest in the valuable positions in the NFL every single year. That's why at the back end of your mock draft, I have a take. You have them taking, I think, Najee Harris at 32. And it's what you think the GMs will do, not necessarily what you would do. Mm-hmm. Dude, if J.C. Horn is there, Asante Samuel Jr. is there, that's where there's some value at the back end of the first round. I'm still going to invest in the secondary, continue to improve in that regard, or add weapons, because you do know that Rob Gronkowski, Antonio Brown, and Chris Godwin are all going to be free agents this offseason. I think wide receiver or pass catcher is another option, but I'm not stopping. Jason Licht should not stop investing in the secondary. He has talent for good reason. You're not going to be able to re-sign all of these guys. Again, tip of the cap to Licht. I mean, he was sensational in what he did.
And you hit the nail on the head there. They had Vernon Hargreaves. They had Justin Evans. They've drafted Mike Edwards, all in the top 3 rounds. None of them were even none of them played, yesterday.
I think Edwards did.
Okay, Edwards is the only one to play, but he was obviously the third safety. Not like they drafted a safety to replace him a year after they drafted him.
Yes.
Because they realized that if you have a weak link, that's where people are going to attack.
Yes.
That guy gets exposed.
Continue to invest in the secondary. Do not let positional need affect your draft status either. This is how it's supposed to go. I don't care what you drafted in the previous year. I don't care what you drafted in the previous 2 years. Continue to draft the best players available at the most valuable positions. Credit where credit's due for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers front office. Let's go ahead and jump to a dumpster fire of a front office or a situation with Carson Wentz and the Philadelphia Eagles. But I dumpster fire was aggressive, because if Roseman gets 2 first-round picks for Carson Wentz.
Even
a first-round pick. I think that seems like the floor right now.
Is realistic, but would also be the dumbest thing. One of the dumbest trades I've ever seen.
If he gets Carson Wentz we've said this 1,000 times, at his lowest perceived value, you are not going to get Carson Wentz at a lower value than this, and he still gets a first-round pick plus some other things for him, it's going to be absurd. Yeah. And the other GM that makes that trade, whether it's the Colts or the Bears, that's who the 2 favorites are right now. I think I saw another report that there's a 3rd team involved, but the Colts or the Bears, whichever team does trade the most for him, that's concerning in my opinion. I don't think Carson Wentz is that much better than what the Bears currently have. I don't think Carson Wentz is that much better than what the Colts currently have. You don't have to make this decision, but I think a team will, and I think it could happen as soon as today.
2 takeaways here. One, how dumb are some NFL GMs? Trading a first-round pick for a guy that looked like that. I don't care, how desperate you are. Roll the dice with that first-round pick. Have some pride in your ability to evaluate NFL talent, at the quarterback position. Obviously, you're the Bears, whatever. It didn't work out the first time. But, that's just an absurd, and to take on a contract as well. So that's takeaway 1. But takeaway 2, Carson Wentz should be the poster child for why you draft quarterbacks highly. If he retains the value of a first-round pick, even after signing a bloated contract and playing like ass, just because he showed a little in an ideal situation, you should not be passing up on quarterbacks because of how at the top of the draft, because of how well they retain their value just by playing above average football for any period of time. You should not be passing up on quarterbacks because of how much they retain their value. To get that sort of value back from any other position, they have to be a top 3 player at their respective position. They have to be elite. That's not the case quarterback. You can have one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL last year still netting you a first-round pick. If that's the case, do not be passing on those guys.
Fair. That's a very good take. And I don't think a lot of people are attacking it from that angle. If Carson Wentz...
if you're the Jets and you're drafting Devonta Smith too. No.
Yes.
Do not do that. The guys were going to retain his value.
I'm unconvinced that Sam Darnold won't fetch a first-round pick at this point. Now that Carson Wentz and his contract, because that's the thing, you mentioned it. Carson Wentz and his monster contract are going to go for a first, maybe more picks. Sam Darnold might be traded for a second. I don't know. The value of quarterbacks is obviously higher than maybe I thought, because I thought Wentz would be going for a day 2, day 3 pick at most. Same with Darnold, more likely day 3. Hearing this situation, it sounds like the Colts, the Bears, and maybe another team are desperate to try and swing the bat on one of these guys. I'm blown away by this.
Oh, and I had one last takeaway. This is also why you don't let lame duck staffs stay when you have why you should do what the Jaguars did and take over control of the roster and force trades like the Jaguars did this past year to gut that roster and then move on from Caldwell, instead of what the Lions did and say, okay, you get one more chance to prove yourself. And then they go all in on, they go all in on what the Bears are going to do is go all in for this year to try to save their jobs and mortgage future draft capital. That's not what you want.
Yeah.
Like you have to have a long-term plan at the GM and head coaching position to just operate effectively. Short-term decision-making to win now. When you're not a team that's that close to winning now is 99.9% of the time a bad idea.
What's the most you're trading for Carson Wentz?
Ooh. Man. 3rd round pick.
And that's if you're a team that has the cap space to do it and is willing to take him on like an Osweiler type deal, right?
Even then, dude, I don't even know if I do a 3rd round pick.
That's crazy. And
I probably wouldn't.
I'll finish the conversation with this. I think the best landing spot for him is to reunite with Frank Reich and the Indianapolis Colts.
That's okay. Like, if I'm a team like that, and I have no other options. 4th round pick, actually. I'm declining.
Drop to a 4th?
Right, 4th round pick.
I just can't believe, I can't get on board with the idea that Matt Nagy is interested in bringing in Carson Wentz. To go from Mitch Trubisky, an inaccurate quarterback, to Carson Wentz, who is another inaccurate quarterback, is not what Matt Nagy wants to do with the football.
And it's also like Nagy and Peterson they have to be somewhat close.
Yes.
Have to talk maybe a little.
At least.
Nagy has to be like, hey, what's going on with this Wentz dude? And Peterson just has to be like, quit now.
Yeah. But I do think that Nagy would much rather have a Jimmy G, a Kirk Cousins, a Derek Carr, like one of the more accurate quarterbacks, rather than bringing in Wentz, who is arguably less accurate than Mitch Trubisky has been over the past few years. Like, that is a huge concern for me. I don't know why the Bears are even involved in this conversation. It's nuts. It's bonkers. All right, let's now jump to the mock draft. And before I do so, I want to say this. This is the last day to take advantage of the Super Bowl 25 promo code. It gives you 25% off any PFF subscription, including Edge Monthly. Edge Monthly is $9.99. 25% takes you to $7.50. Cost of Chipotle without guac. And that will get you access to the draft guide.
Double meat too.
That'll get you access to the draft guide, among other things, in the Edge subscription for a full month. You can cancel after that. You don't even have to you don't have to continue through the offseason, whatever you want to do. You can get access to the draft guide. But if you don't have the $7.50 and you still want the draft guide, I'm reopening my DMs. You leave a 5-star review in Apple Podcasts and send me a screenshot of it in Twitter DMs, you are eligible for a draft guide. How many am I giving out? 50% of the total messages I get between February 8th and February 15th. 1 week. One week only. I'll do it. I gave away over 100, by the way, last time. I had so many DMs.
You have 200 DMs?
So many DMs. This time, I don't know if we'll get that many, but I'm challenging you to try. Challenging you to try me. I didn't get any first dates out of those DMs, though. All draft guide talk.
Yeah, my DM's open for that because, I'm single now, sadly.
You love to see that. Not sadly. You thrive when you're single. You thrive when you're single. All right, let's jump to this mock draft now. You recently dropped a mock draft for PFF.com. That's what everyone wants right now. We had this conversation recently. Mock drafts, you know that quote in Wedding Crashers? Maybe Quinn could play it for us in the podcast, but that quote where he's like, sailing's like sex to these people. They love it. That's what mock drafts are to people. You know what I mean? Like, people love mock drafts. And we're going to go ahead with this one from you. Number one, you have the Jacksonville Jaguars taking quarterback Trevor Lawrence of Clemson. I haven't seen that, which is crazy. It's a surprise pick for sure.
I'm a hot take artist now.
I like that. I
sold out for clicks.
New York Jets at 2 take Zach Wilson. Miami Dolphins at 3 take Penei Sewell of Oregon, the offensive tackle. Carolina Panthers trade up in this mock draft, up to number 4. Take the Atlanta Falcons number 4 pick and take quarterback Justin Fields. So in other mock drafts from Kuiper, McShay, and I think even Jeremiah, we've seen Fields fall outside the top 10. They come up and grab him at 4. That leaves the Bengals with Jamar Chase at 5. Let's talk. I think those first 3 picks, I've seen those a lot. I don't know how much I want to talk about them.
I just want to say this about Penei Sewell and the Dolphins. No one's going to I don't think a team's going to pass on Penei Sewell for a different positional player. You can pass on for a quarterback. I don't foresee anyone passing on Penei Sewell for another positional player. He's like Chase Young in that regard, where it's just like, I don't care if you got Ryan Kerrigan and Montez Sweat, a guy you just drafted in the first round. You're going to draft Chase Young. I don't care if you have Ryan Ramczyk and Teron Armstead. You're going to draft Penei Sewell. He's that good.
I don't care if you have Juwan James and Austin Jackson. You're going to draft Penei Sewell.
They don't have Juwan James either. But
I thought they had Juwan James. Oh, that was Denver.
Sorry,
he went to Denver. I'm stupid.
buddy. No,
Who's their right tackle?
Robert Hunt. So I don't care definitely don't care if you have Robert. No, but Austin Jackson, Robert Hunt, probably can move Hunt inside. You drafted Penei Sewell. He's that good. Okay, there's my take.
At 4, let's talk about this trade a little bit.
Now, maybe a little ridiculous because divisional trades, teams don't do that. I don't know why. It shouldn't bother you to steal other teams' picks if they're that desperate to go get a quarterback. Whatever. Let them get the quarterback. Like, be confident in your own ability.
Plus, you're not trading players in this situation.
Yeah,
I think it's a little bit bit different.
I don't think that should be a big deal. Maybe teams in their front offices feel otherwise. But again, I don't think it should be a big deal. But the Panthers, I just think they don't want that. You saw the report that they offered up Teddy Bridgewater to the Lions. Definitely some buyer's remorse there. They have the talent offensively to be much better than the 22nd or something ranked scoring offense, whatever they were. They were a below average offense with objectively above average, well above average skill positions and a good enough offensive line that you can operate behind. Teddy Bridgewater, 66.4 passing grade. You just can do better than Teddy Bridgewater. You got to set your sights higher, especially in that division. So Justin Fields, I think that's who they're going to go attack.
I like them taking a quarterback in this class, whether they trade up and go grab Fields or stay put and maybe swing the bat on Lance, even though Lance could even go in the top 5 themselves. I think they can't afford to go into next year because here's why. I think here's a good reason why they should. If they go in with Teddy Bridgewater again, I think they're going to again be picking between like 8 and 12. Like Teddy Bridgewater is not, and that roster is not going to take you into top 3 territory. And quarterback purgatory is the worst place to be in the NFL. When they signed Teddy Bridgewater, I said that. You're putting yourself in this position where you're never going to be in a prime position to get a top 2, top 3 quarterback prospect. And not every draft, there's 3 guys like this. There's 4 guys that you take in the top 5. Next year, I don't know if we'll see that. We'll see. But if they start Teddy Bridgewater next year, in addition to not developing a young rookie quarterback, you're going to again be drafting in that tier of like 8 to 12, 8 to 14. Maybe they make the postseason like the football team and be in an even worse spot. Like that is the concern I have with Teddy B.
Yeah, the Bridgewater move, at the time, I said it, this is like objectively the worst move you could make as the Panthers because you're not ready and you're going for a guy who's just limited. Like nothing about his game ever said top 5-10 quarterback in the NFL. It's like the move that the Bears should have made was go get Teddy Bridgewater with how good your defense is, how good your skill position is. You could maybe like sneak into the playoffs.
They also changed the entire coaching staff. Like that, it was going to be very difficult to win with Teddy B.
That's what, like that move just made no sense. You were a team that was primed to get a top 3-4 pick, get in on the quarterback class. But then you won too many games, and now you're going to have to trade up.
They should have started Will Grier the entire season, like honestly. And like if he completely...
Will Grier gets you Trevor Lawrence.
Yes.
And fulfills his destiny.
Yes. And that's what you want. I was on a Patriots podcast recently, and they were talking about, about the Mac Jones, or should they trade up and go get a quarterback? And we had this conversation about bridge quarterbacks. Well, don't you need to go make a move for like a bridge quarterback before the next guy? You don't bring your bridge quarterback in until you have a developing rookie. Like you don't. Teddy Bridgewater is a great bridge quarterback to who? Like you don't have someone developing. Is it Will Grier? Then you should have started him.
It was just a bad decision. I think that's why they ended up firing Hurney. Probably was his call.
Tough, man. Tough. All right. Bengals take Jamar Chase with Penei Sewell off the board. Let's get to the next picks. Philadelphia Eagles take Devontae Smith of Alabama at 6. That's a very common pick these days. Denver Broncos come up and go get Trey Lance. They trade up with the Detroit Lions at 7. Go get Trey Lance. At 8, the Atlanta Falcons coming down from 4. Take Kyle Pitts. Woo, I love that. That is one of my favorite picks I've seen you mock. 9, the Detroit Lions coming down from Denver, or with Denver. Take linebacker Micah Parsons of Penn State. And at 10, Caleb Farley of Virginia Tech to the Dallas Cowboys. Let's start at the Denver Broncos coming up for Trey Lance. A lot of the reports I've seen are that they're confident in Drew Lock, but want to bring in a veteran to compete. I've heard Gardner Minshew as a name, which is like absurd. Do you think this is a way better decision? And obviously you do, but like, what's your take on Trey Lance to Denver? Yeah,
the Lance is interesting because I feel like the Eagles would be in that mix if he didn't go to North Dakota State.
Stop. You think they're that crazy? Really?
I'm just saying, like, you had a quarterback went to North Dakota State, you're going to trade him away. Fans are just going to be like, not another North Dakota State guy. That's immediately what
it's going to happen. But
that wasn't quite my
a multi-million-dollar franchise can't let same helmet scouting fans affect what they make at number 6, which is again another multi-million-dollar decision.
Philly hates everybody though. They could draft Jesus and they'd be like, "Oh, this guy sucks. What are we doing?
I haven't seen enough tape." Go ahead. So talk more about
But
that.
I just think they're the most intriguing team to me right now because Roseman's no dummy about positional value. That's we know for certain. He's always coveted the valuable positions: wide receiver, tackle, defensive end, corner. That's what he's kind of gone at in the draft wise. So quarterback would be on, like he made the play to get Wentz. Like he made that massive play to go get Wentz. Do they make the similar play to go? Are they like the ones convincing the Jets, hey, no, you want Darnold. Like you want to ride with him. Trust me. This is the year. We'll go take Zach Wilson. No big deal. Possibly. They're to me the biggest wild card in the draft because of that, because they have a history of that. But in this one, like I said, Trey Lance on the board. I think he makes a lot of sense to the Denver Broncos. Cannon for an arm. Not a guy year one. Like he's going to come in. Drew Lock's going to get a shot. Like you get to keep Drew Lock. You get to give him that other year that so many Broncos fans, or not so many, some Broncos fans are still holding out hope that he could be that guy. And that's fine. Lance gets to sit a year on the bench and see what not to do. Kind of like you with your dad. He gets to say, hey, this is how I don't play the game of football. Then he comes in year 2 and Lance balls. I think that's where I would like to go.
I honestly think this is an ideal situation for Denver because I think I agree that I think there's even some parts of the front office that want to give Drew Lock another opportunity with this young receiving core, this offense, whatever. You get to do that with Trey Lance. Trey Lance has only played one game over the past 12 plus months. You're not going to start him week 1, but you do have him as that developmental piece behind Drew Lock. And if Drew Lock tanks, you're in a good position to give Trey Lance some opportunities or let him tank for 16 games and get a higher draft pick and then fit Lance with some weapons going into 2022. Here's the thing, though. If they go with this strategy, I hope the front office lets them know, and Vic Fangio lets them know, I am not on the hot seat if you want me to start Drew Lock for 16 games next year. Because some people have asked me, asked me about Fangio and why hasn't he been fired? It's like, are you serious? This guy should not be on the hot seat. He's working with bad parts. Like this quarterback has not played well. Yeah. Drew Lock is on the hot seat. There are people who want Fangio out of Denver more than they want Drew Lock out of Denver. And I just can't get on board with that. I can't.
They lost their best defensive player, and they still had one of the best defense.
They had shambles in the secondary and still were one of the more productive secondaries.
Bouye and Von Miller, or like Bouye barely played. And you still had lights out Davis because Vic Fangio is one of the best defensive coordinators. Like you can scheme.
If Denver lets Fangio get out of there, man, I would be floored. Like they let Drew Lock tank them into 3 or 4 wins, and then they leave on. I would hate to see that. I really would. All right, let's jump to one of my favorite picks here. Kyle Pitts to Atlanta. There are going to be some people who are like, you got Ridley, you got Julio. No, I said this again. I said this before, I'll say it again. There is not a single team in the NFL with enough weapons to pass on Kyle Pitts, specifically at 8 overall. I've said that with the Dallas Cowboys. I'm going to say that with the Atlanta Falcons. I really do think Kyle Pitts is a monster coming to Atlanta. I love this fit.
Yeah, in terms of rarity of skill set, he's more rare than any of these receivers. He's rarer? One of those two. More rare than all these receivers. Rarity of skill set, like him, he's right up there with Sewell and Parsons. He may be the most rare of those guys coming out. Like you don't see guys who he's probably going to be up to about 250 by draft time who just move the way he does and have his receiving ability. I can't remember the last guy to come out that is as good as he is as a tight end prospect. Like Kelsey obviously has developed over time. Gronk was a different type of tight end. Waller developed over time. Kittle was, barely even utilized in that offense. Pitts, you've seen it all already. Seen all the things that you could want that translate to the NFL as a receiver. And he's much improved as a blocker to actually have people respect him as an inline blocker. Yeah, Kyle Pitts, he's dude. If you're the Falcons, that could take you to another level offensively.
Parsons to Detroit, I also really like.
Chris Spielman, dude. That's just it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Just chalk it up right now.
Caleb Farley to Dallas at 10. Let's get to the next picks, though. 11, you have the New York Giants taking Patrick Surtain, the second of Alabama. San Francisco 49ers grab Kwity Paye of Michigan, the edge defender. Los Angeles Chargers, Rashawn Slater of Northwestern, the offensive tackle. Could play guard, too. And then Minnesota Vikings, defensive tackle Christian Barmore of Alabama at 14. And then the New England Patriots, not Mac Jones, wide receiver Jalen Waddle of Alabama at 15. Let's start there. Because I've had a lot of conversations about Mac Jones, the Patriots at 15.
Yeah.
You've said this before, and I'm going to echo it. Set your sights higher. Mac Jones, I think the ceiling for Mac Jones is he plays to the level of a Kirk Cousins on his rookie deal. And then on his rookie deal, the team can build around him to a point where you can compete for a Super Bowl. Not necessarily be a favorite for one, but compete for one. The New England Patriots roster is bad, defensively and offensively.
But worst receiving core in the NFL.
Worst receiving core in the NFL. The defense is old. Like, they're going to be losing some guys. They might trade away Stephon Gilmore. You're better off starting Jarrett Stidham. Don't get a bridge quarterback. Just screw the bridge quarterback.
Again,
You're better off starting Jarrett Stidham and getting Jalen Waddle here, letting him develop with Stidham, whatever that looks like, and then drafting 1 or 2 next year and grabbing Rattler or Howell, whoever it may be. They should have tanked this year. Instead they go for Cam Newton. They try and push. I think this is an interesting conversation.
This is
the Bill Belichick legacy has been in the conversation lately with Tom Brady winning a Super Bowl without him. Some people are calling him overrated. I heard Gary V on Clubhouse, which is a new audio platform, new social media platform, talk about how Bill Belichick could go down as one of the more overrated coaches in NFL history if Tom Brady wins 2 or 3 Super Bowls without him. And I think that's eating at Bill Belichick a little bit. You know how much of a competitor Bill Belichick is? I think you could tell Bill Belichick, hey, the best opportunity for you to get back to a Super Bowl is for you to lose 16 games this season. Say they told that in 2020. He's not doing it. He is a guy that thinks he can win without a good quarterback. He thinks he's built his team to be quarterback proof. It's why he's won so many times when Tom Brady was hurt, why he went 11 wins with Matt Castle. But that's not the case when your roster is as bad as it is now. Maybe he could win with a Cam Newton with a better roster, but it's bad. This New England Patriots team is in such a bad spot from a roster perspective that grabbing Mac Jones and trying to win with him is just not the shortest path to another Super Bowl. The shortest path, I think, is tanking in 2021, letting Stidham develop, and then hopefully grabbing one of the top quarterback prospects next year.
That's the thing. If you're drafting a QB here, you're not recognizing where you're at as a roster.
Yes.
You're bad. It's not a good roster. They were not built to you're not going to compete for Super Bowls with that roster, and your best players are old because here, just let me read off their first top 3 round picks from 2015 on. These are the guys they drafted in the first 3 rounds.
I'm ready.
Malcolm Brown, defensive tackle. Jordan Richards, safety. Genio Grissom, defensive end. Cyrus Jones, cornerback. Joe Tooney, guard. Jacoby Brissett, Vincent Valentine, defensive tackle. Derek Rivers, defensive end. Antonio Garcia, tackle. Isaiah Wynn, tackle. Sony Michel, obviously running back. Duke Dawson, cornerback. N'Keal Harry, wide receiver. Juwan Williams, cornerback. Chase Winovich, defensive end. Damian Harris, running back. Yadni Kajus, tackle. And then this past year, Kyle Duggar, safety. Josh Uche, outside linebacker. Anthony Jennings, linebacker. Devin Asiasi and Dalton Keene, tight ends. That's one of the worst draft histories over that span. Or worst drafting histories over that span of any franchise in the NFL. That's awful. That's why you are where you are if you're the Patriots, because you hit on what? 2 quality starters over that span in Isaiah Wynn, Joe Tooney, and you hit on maybe one more guy who's borderline that in Chase Winovich. That's about it at this point. You have not gotten impact players from your top picks. And when you don't get impact players from your top picks, the base of your roster just erodes because there's only so long you can rely on those guys on their second contracts before it gets too expensive. And it kind of did what we saw last year where Brady was obviously too expensive for them. They moved on. Don't have a great backup plan. Tried to win with Cam Newton, but they shouldn't have because they weren't good enough.
Yeah. And I think if you're going to, because there is the argument let's develop a quarterback in this class. Don't take him at 15. You're better off taking Jamie Newman, Kellen Mond, or Felipe Franks on day 2, day 3, and developing guys with legitimate arm talent, right?
I don't believe in necessarily developmental quarterbacks. I believe in trading up. If you're going to get a quarterback and not waiting, go up and get the guy. But again, Mac Jones, set your sights higher than Mac Jones.
But going up and getting a guy for the Patriots, because that's another part of the conversation.
Day 2 is where you need to build more starters. That's where they need to hit on depth in this on that roster. So
I don't think the roster's in a position though where you'd feel confident trading up to go get even Fields or Wilson or Lance, because even when you trade all that capital to go get him, he's going to be in a situation where there's not a lot of talent around him, and that again is concerning. This is not where you want to be as Patriots fans, and I know we're talking to Patriots fans right now. This is hard. This is a tough pill to swallow. You're not going to be good for a couple seasons after dominating the NFL for 18 plus years. And I'm telling you right now, it's like, I know a lot of Raiders fans. I'm from Oakland, California. If you told Raiders fans, hey, you need to tank before you can get to the playoffs again, it's like, dude, they'd be signing up for it. Like, oh, 2-win seasons, we're all about it. We've been there. But Patriots fans, and Belichick included, it's like,
too much.
I don't know if I could do it. Like, this is a weird place to be. Like, well, meanwhile, like other franchises are like, dude, I'll tank any one season to go get a top quarterback and try and turn this thing around.
And it's not just like tanking. Like you don't have to intentionally like do what the Jaguars did and really like sell off all your top pieces. It's more just recognizing where you're at as a roster.
Yeah.
You know, the other interesting picks I wanted to hit on here. One, the Kwity Paye to 49ers. Just John Lynch has committed to investing in the defensive line at all costs over the course of his tenure there. So I don't think that changes. Like I don't think the strategy necessarily changes there. They want that as a cornerstone of their defense, and everything builds off of that. So I could very much see them being the first team to dip into the edge class. And the Minnesota Vikings, I know everyone wants edge for them. Gregory Rousseau has probably been in a zillion mocks to them for good reason. But I think defensive tackle is the scarcer position in this draft class. You won't find a guy close to Christian Barmore's skill set in the second round. You just won't. He's that good. He's in a class of his own, this defensive tackle class. It's not even really particularly close. There might not be another guy that is even a competent pass rusher drafted in this defensive tackle class. It's just not good. Barmore, though, what he did against Notre Dame, what he did against Ohio State, she's special. He is special. I would not be passing on him at 14.
Alrighty, let's jump to the next few picks here. At 16, Arizona Cardinals take Christian Darrisaw of Virginia Tech. At 17, the Las Vegas Raiders grab Nick Bolton, linebacker, Missouri. 18, Miami Dolphins grab linebacker Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah of Notre Dame. At 19, Washington football team grabs tackle Elijah Vera Tucker of USC. And at 20, big riser here, the Chicago Bears grab North Dakota State tackle Dylan Radins. Let's start there. Radins, big Senior Bowl week. You like him at 20. He could be going high. You like this? Is this his ceiling in this mock or in the first round? Do you think he goes higher than 20?
I don't know. I mean, Jim Nagy had him over Penei Sewell heading into the season.
True.
So Nagy's been banging the table for him going super high. I think it's kind of with the depth of the tackle class, teams that are drafting in the top 10 to 12 will be like, hey, I can get one in the second round. I can get Liam Eichenberg if need be. Let me go elsewhere. So I do think that's why there's three just came off the board from 16 to 20 there. I think that's where you start to see guys, some of this tackle class come off the board. And I wouldn't be surprised if Radins like jumps like Vera Tucker or Darrisaw in this class.
I thought that was high for Vera Tucker too.
He's that level of athlete. Like he's an explosive offensive tackle that, like was it Tristan Wirth said broad jump translates. I bet he has good broad jump, but he's gonna have a pretty good one.
Explain to me Raiders taking Bolton over JOK from Notre Dame.
This one's reading Mike Mayock, the tea leaves here.
Love it.
What has Mayock done? Veteran, experienced guys, leaders.
Hard nose.
Tone setters.
First in, last out.
Gritty.
Although
that was not
lunch pail.
What's his face? Ohio State. Damon Arnett. That was not Damon Arnett.
No.
But all the other ones.
He was first out.
Yeah. All the other ones, that type. Hasn't worked out, but this good news, Bolton's actually good and that type. So
I like it.
And fills the need of linebacker, which has just been, that.
I still think they're getting into the edge class. I think they're going to grab a Rousseau or an Owe or a Paye. Everyone's mocking linebacker to them. Bradley knows that this defense doesn't work unless I get some pass rushing help. And I think while there are projects in this class, I think it's too good at 17 to pass on like a Rousseau or an Owe here. I think linebacker would be a foolish move.
I kind of agree.
All right, let's go to 21. Indianapolis Colts grab the guy who's going to be on the podcast later, edge defender Gregory Rousseau of Miami. At 22,
did you ask him how much he weighed? How much does he weigh now?
He said he's close to 260 or something.
How long are his arms?
I didn't ask him how long his arms were. Okay, I don't think he's mentioned that
Austin.
Yet. His pro day, I think, is at the back end of March. Okay. We're going to be ready for it. All right. He did say he has some really good things to say about Jalen Phillips.
Yeah.
He said he watched every Miami game this year, and he wore the 15.
I would hope.
What do you mean you would hope?
The guy played there.
I mean, sometimes he's working, okay? Some people are grinding, okay? You can't always afford to, leisurely watch a game, okay? That guy said he's in the best shape of his life. He's been working out 5 times a day.
I would also hope.
Yeah, so fair enough. All right. 22, Tennessee Titans take Elijah Moore of Ole Miss, who we will be having on the podcast on Wednesday. And then New York Jets, we have cornerback J.C. Horn of South Carolina. Pittsburgh Steelers grab linebacker Zaven Collins of Tulsa. And then that's a fit. It's just too good. Zaven Collins to Pittsburgh is awesome.
Last pod.
And Jacksonville Jaguars take safety Trayvon Moehrig of TCU. I have a take on the safety class that I want to bring up. But are too many people forgetting about Javen Holland of Oregon? I didn't play this year, former 5-star from Oakland, Bishop O'Dowd High School.
Oh, okay.
The dude moves so well. I think
he's smooth. I don't think he's an explosive athlete, though.
He's smooth, though.
Yeah.
He's smooth. I think he's got – I love what he did in the slot for them. I think Javen Holland is going to get slept on a little bit because he didn't play this past year, and you're going to see him legit, like, as a second-round pick, maybe back into the second-round pick, like, take off for a team. I think he could have a legit impact as a second-round player.
Bring it –
I had to bring it up. I was watching.
No,
I was watching more of the class, and I forgot about him. I mean, it's easy to you're watching so much 2020 tape. You turn back on the 2019 tape. There's a handful of plays. You turn on the Stanford game.
I just don't think he's quite the athlete of the other top.
We'll see come pro day, dog. All right, let's talk more about these picks. Zayvon Collins in Pittsburgh is awesome. I like J.C. Horn as high as 23 to the New York Jets. Yeah. Elijah Moore over Kadarius Toney, over Rondale Moore, over Rashad Bateman. You got Elijah Moore going high to the Tennessee Titans of all teams.
I think, and I mean, it's because kind of what he did versus some J.C. Horn this past year. Like he can get,
he got J.C. Horn a little bit.
He can get open, and I don't think he's just a slot. Like he played the slot there, but I don't think he is. Like I think he has good enough ball skills, can get off press coverage. I think this guy is your number 2 option with A.J. Brown that can. They're going to need someone there. Honestly, I think they need someone who's like a little faster than even Corey Davis because with the way that offense operates, going down the field, like it is attacking the intermediate and deep levels of the football field. And if you don't have someone else with some speed, teams can put their attention towards A.J. Brown because it is a lot of 2 wide receiver stuff there. So I think Elijah Moore would be a good fit specifically for the Titans and what they want to do.
All right, let's speed through the next few picks here because we got to do our hashtag fun to watch list.
Yeah.
All right, 26, Cleveland Browns grab Jason Owe of Penn State. Baltimore Ravens edge defender Azeez Ojulari of Georgia, who we had, I believe, on the Thursday or Wednesday episode of Tier 4 and Drafts. Go back and check that out. At 28, we have Mac Jones of Alabama going to the New Orleans Saints. 29, Green Bay Packers finally grabbed their first-round receiver. It's Rondale Moore of Purdue. Buffalo Bills grab tackle Taven Jenkins of Oklahoma State, who the more I watch his film, that guy's a Gruden grinder, a lunch pail type that I think a lot of teams will really like.
Is he on fun to watch rankings?
He is not in my fun to watch rankings, but he probably should have been. I have another tackle, though, that I think is also very fun to watch. Carlos Basham Jr. of Wake Forest to the Kansas City Chiefs at 31. And then the Buccaneers, this is my least favorite pick in the mock. Running back Najee Harris of Alabama. Jason Licht is not making this mistake. Okay, and I like Najee Harris, great running back.
He did draft a kicker in the second round, so never say never.
Fair, but I mean, this is just somewhat. Rashad Bateman's still on the board,
but I think he learned his lesson after that.
Kadarius Toney's still on the board.
What was I doing?
With Chris Godwin and Rob Gronkowski and Antonio Brown all hitting the free agent market, maybe you don't bring all those guys back. I think you have to go pass catcher here, especially with how this mock fell out. Bateman is still on the board. I'm taking Bateman at 32.
Tyler Johnson, dude. Tyler Johnson can ball.
I know Tyler Johnson can ball.
Najee Harris. I mean, he's the legitimate upgrade over the running back group, though. They run the ball. They fucking run the ball a lot. And when you run the ball a lot, we always, say, hey, you don't want to invest in a running back because we don't want you to invest in a running game. The Bucs aren't going to change. Bruce Arians, Tiger ain't changing his stripes at this point in his career.
You don't believe in Super Bowl Lenny?
God, no. Dude, that touchdown was like a straight line. I could have had that one touchdown. Right?
Wow. The playoff Lenny slander / Super Bowl Lenny slander is uncalled for.
But also free agent. So.
Unnecessary?
The other interesting ones here, in my opinion, Jason Owe, the 0 sacks. I don't think that's going to move the needle for the Browns. They're smarter analytically than that to say, 0 sacks. He can't sack the quarterback. No, it's not how it works.
He's also gifted athlete. That guy is insane.
Yes. Monster. Mac Jones, the Saints, there's a team and an offense that Mac Jones could excel in the NFL.
Yeah.
Like that, the way Sean Payton dials it up, which I've come around to the term dials it up this year. Love dials it up.
I hate it.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. I like it.
Dials it up. That's Mac Jones. That's what he does best. Not all offenses in the NFL are going to dial it up for Mac Jones that way. Sean Payton will dial it up. So I'd love that fit. And then last one, Carlos Basham. Chiefs got to go edge. Pass rush has to get better. Lowest ranked edge pass rushing group in the NFL this past season.
Man, that's rough.
It's tough.
Basham Jr. at 31 too, I think is good value.
Yeah.
Let's jump to now our hashtag fun to watch rankings. So if you don't know this, on 2-for-1 Drafts, we hate when people say fun to watch on Twitter or anywhere about a prospect because it's not a take. It's not anything. I saw someone tweet out that this running back class is fun to watch. Like, kill me. Every running back class is probably fun to watch. I just don't get it. I don't get it. Just say something definitive, unless you're just having fun. Because I also will tweet out some things where like, oh, that was sick. Like, that's fine. But like when you're talking about like a prospect, I feel like you have to bring something. Take. Yeah, you have to bring something to the table.
It's masquerading as a take when it's nothing.
Yes, that's true. But I think football is fun. And when you are putting tweet copy together, it's fun to have fun with the tweet copy. But when you're talking about a prospect and like there's some tweets where like it's like Najee Harris parentheses 6'2", 244, whatever the fuck. And it's like, is fun to watch. Like, come on. Okay, well, what are we doing here? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Does that go in as pros?
Yes.
Or does that go in as cons?
How often are you putting fun to watch in your pros? I need to know.
Haven't put once.
All right. Well, I have my fun to watch list. I'm going to read off my top 3. Then you go your 3, and then we just keep going. My top 3. Trevor Lawrence, Nick Bolton, Kyle Pitts. I think those 3 players are 3 of the most fun players to watch in this class. Trevor Lawrence, because this might be the best quarterback prospect we see in a long, long time. Nick Bolton, he hits harder than anyone in this class. And then Kyle Pitts is legitimately different. You talk about scarcity. This guy is rare. I haven't seen your list, by the way. This is my list. That's my top 3.
All right. Mine, number 1, Trevor Lawrence. The funnest to watch. 2, Kadarius Toney, Florida wide receiver. He has that movement, whatever ability that it's fun as hell to watch.
Yeah.
And then 3, Penei Sewell, because I'm an offensive line guy at heart.
I like that.
I empathize, one of those 2 with the big fellas because they don't get a lot of credit and they deserve far more than they get. And Penei Sewell's tape is just O-line porn, shall we say.
It really is. All right, my next 3. I got Kadarius Toney. Same reasons, just different player on the field. I got back-to-back Florida players, Pitts, then Toney. At 5, this one might surprise people. Asante Samuel Jr. Instinctive. I love the instinctive back-end players, and he's physical and tackles above his weight. I really do think his tape, especially on the All-22, like if you don't have access to the All-22, you probably don't come away with too many fun-to-watch takes. But his tape on the All-22, when he's picking up different concepts and stuff, it's awesome to see. He's the guy I want to get on the pod to just rip through some tape with. And then number 6. Huh?
I was spaced out. Who'd you say?
Asante Samuel Jr.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead. Keep going.
At 6, I have Christian Darrisaw, who is, like Tevin Jenkins, just an absolute bully. I like Darrisaw a lot.
Darrisaw's fun. All right. Mine 4 are Darius Washington, the TCU safety.
You had to.
Knew I had to. 5'8", 179 pounds. I was actually looking through weights. He would be the smallest guy called a safety if he weighed in at the combine at 179 pounds ever.
Wow.
Yes. Now, Tyrann Matthews, same size, but came in as cornerback listed. So caveat there. Number 5, Rondale Moore, Purdue. The OG Kadarius Toney before Kadarius Toney turned into just something completely different. But man, Rondale Moore is so fun to watch. And then number 6, Zach Wilson.
Nice.
Got still give love to the QBs. His throws, his highlight reel is the best. Now, Trevor Lawrence is more fun to watch because the way he plays quarterback position is just like utterly dominant. Zach Wilson's, his throws are more fun to watch.
All right, I'm going to read my next 4 here. And I try to bring in some guys who are like going to go on day 2, day 3, because I didn't want the entire list to just be first round guys. But I went Aleem McNeil, NC State, and that includes his high school tape. That includes his high school tape. Then I went, surprising, James Wiggins. People are going to forget about it. People are going to forget about it. James Wiggins hits hard, plays aggressive, very instinctive, a baller, especially in the clutch. Just turn on his fourth quarter games, and he's nuts. Then I had to throw a running back in because the running backs are fun to watch. When Javonte Williams, who is a brick house, brings the heat, forces missed tackles with reckless abandon. That Miami game is borderline illegal. I think the FBI is looking into it, like for assault, because it's that bad. But Javonte Williams fun to watch. And then lastly, because I'm not letting this guy fall out of the cracks here, Quinn Miners, baby. How about fun to watch? That was the most fun to watch we've seen of like an offensive lineman at the Senior Bowl in a long time.
I debated Miners.
Miners, great addition. He's in at 10.
Or however you say his last name. All right. Good list. Number 7, I had Landon Dickerson, Alabama center.
Oh, that's a good one.
Because he's just teabag machine, like rolls up on dudes.
Teabag machine?
I mean, when you pancake a guy and you roll. Okay, never mind. I guess that's.
He dials up the
teabag.
Yeah, there you go.
Simi Fehoko comes in at number 8, the Stanford wide receiver.
You're sick. He's not fun to watch.
Oh, he's so fun to watch. The dude is so goddamn explosive. I mean, it's like DK. Like I said, I don't know what race is. The Mormons. DK Metcalf. He's from Utah. I guess assume he's Mormon. That dude's explosive as hell. Like to see a guy 6'4", 228 pounds, just blow through press coverage without even like a move. He just runs.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Number 9, Andre Sisco, Syracuse safety, just running around so recklessly on the back end with like a 4.3 speed, not giving a damn. Oh, awesome safety tape to watch. And then 10, a little off the beaten path, Oklahoma cornerback Trey Brown.
Nice.
Watching a 5'9" cornerback play press coverage and beat guys up. It reminiscent of Amik Robertson last year, but I think he's a better outside cornerback than Amik Robertson was. I think Amik Robertson is like a slot. Amik Robertson, the LA Tech guy who went drafted to the Raiders. But Trey Brown, like he had reps against Tylan Wallace where just like Wallace didn't get off the line. Because 5'9" guy couldn't get off the line. Trey Brown, fun to watch.
What a fantastic podcast this has been. Mock draft, Super Bowl reactions, Wentz trades, and then the fun to watch list. And now the Gregory Rousseau interview.
Yeah.
Let's jump to it. Joining the 2-for-1 Drafts podcast for the second time now, officially a friend of the podcast, is none other than former Miami edge defender Gregory Rousseau. I'll call you Greg, though. We're close like that. We're at that point where we're close. But it's great to have you back on the podcast. I know it's probably been a very weird season for you. Obviously opted out of the 2020 season due to COVID-19 concerns and have just been training your ass off since really the break and just watching as much football as you can, but not necessarily participating. How weird has this season been for you?
I mean, it's been wild for sure. I haven't missed a year of football since I was 8 years old. So it's definitely been super different just watching and not playing in the fall. But I feel like I've made the most out of it by making sure I kept my work ethic and kept my working hard and improving on areas of my game which I know need to be improved before I make that jump to the next level.
Well, what everyone's thinking right now about Gregory Rousseau is what has he been doing, over the past year to prepare for your pro day, to prepare for the NFL? Because obviously 1 year of tape there at Miami, Florida. People want to know, how is this guy getting better as he approaches the NFL? Walk me through a typical week for you during this season, or even a day-to-day, a daily schedule that what's your training regimen like?
Well, now I work out 6 days a week, but before, during the fall, I was working out 5 days a week, and every single day I'd have an hour of like linear movement or multi-directional stuff. And then I'd have an hour of lifting, but 3 days a week, I would do positional work where I'd work things like my hands, my get off, all the D-line things that I need to get ready for the next level. I've been learning new moves. I worked with Chuck Smith. He used to play for the Falcons. He's a real well-known D-line coach. He's like a guru. I've been working with Fred Robbins here at Exos in Pensacola. He's been teaching me a lot of stuff. He played for about 11 years and won a Super Bowl with the Giants. So I've been definitely taking in knowledge from different coaches, and I feel like I've been getting better at all parts of my game, and also really focusing on making sure that I'm just as crisp on the right side as I am on the left side, because when you go to the league, you don't know where they're going to play you at, and also still been working my interior stuff too.
Chuck Smith, man, I've talked to him before. I remember when I was interviewing Brian Burns. Burns talked about Chuck Smith as this guy that really is that guru. That's awesome that you're working with him, because, something that you can do without playing football is obviously work on the combine drills, try and get faster, try and get stronger. But it's hard to really work your moves unless you are working with a guy like Chuck Smith trying to get those moves going. I'm glad you brought up, you don't know where they're going to play you in the NFL. At Miami, Florida in 2019, you played across the board, man. You're playing on the edge, played on the interior, played some off-ball linebacker. Are you planning when you go to the NFL to be played in a versatile role? I know you said you've talked to some NFL teams before we started recording. What are some of the teams saying about what your ideal role is in the NFL?
They haven't talked about it too much. So, like, the feeling I get from them is, like, I'm an edge, but I'm also an edge who can move inside. So I feel like I am an edge rusher, but also I have the versatility to play 3-tech, to play the right end, to play the other 3-tech. So I feel like I can drop back into coverage, drop to the flats if I need to guard some running backs or whatever the scheme calls for. I feel like I'm real versatile, and I feel like that's really going to help me to the next level, because I feel like I'm not limited by any scheme that I'm in, because I've played in so many different spots before. So I'm really excited to see who's interested in me and who picks me and what type of defense they run and how I can fit into that defense. It'd be kind of like a chess piece. I feel like it's going to be real interesting and a lot of fun For
Yeah,
sure.
I think chess piece comes up a ton when you read other scouting reports, even here at PFF. You see this guy as a chess piece because you have multi-gap versatility. You have the length, the height, the size, the weight, the athleticism to play multiple positions along the defensive line or even at outside linebacker. So that's definitely awesome here. So working at Exos down there in Pensacola, where I know a lot of other draft prospects go, I think they have a place out there in Pensacola, another place in Arizona. What combine drills are you preparing for the most, or specifically, and what goals are maybe you setting for yourself, maybe in the 40-yard dash, broad jump, etc.?
My goals are really just to perform the best that I can, get the most out of myself. With drills and stuff like that, it's really my goals are just to look smooth, and show that I've been working at it, and show that I've gotten better with it. Because I wasn't the best at like hitting bags and all that stuff while I was in Miami, because we didn't really do too much of that in practice. We worked more like people. We work more with people. I feel like in practice, like hitting other D linemen who are standing there. So I feel like I've been working a lot of those things. And also I feel like, what I've been working at the Exos is, when it comes to like running the 40 and broad jump, I'd say my goals are probably to hit like maybe a 4.6 broad jump to be above 9 for sure. My strength coaches always say it has to be above 9. Vertical to be in the 30s, in the mid 30s, and L drill and shuttle. I haven't really picked a number yet, but I'm trying to get all my time still, and just be consistent whenever I run my drills. So yeah, that's about it though. But I'm really looking forward to my pro day because it's like a substitution for the combine. So I'm ready to go show out.
Yeah, Miami's pro day, I know you said this was on March 29th, so you still have some time to prepare. After spending an entire football season, like you said, you haven't spent a football season away from football since you were 8, but spending it entirely working out, would you argue you're like in the best shape of your life? I feel like I can't imagine anything else.
Yeah, definitely. My body fat went down like 3%, so I feel like I'm in good shape.
I mean, I could pray for that number. I would love to go down 3% here in body fat. How much film have you been watching throughout this process? Because I know so much of your day is probably in the weight room and doing those things, but are you watching a ton of film as well?
Yeah, definitely. I watch all the NFL games just like casually. When it's like a Sunday, I'll definitely like pick players like Calais Campbell and Joey Bosa, Burns, Chase Young. I've been watching a lot of them, just looking at what they do, looking at the little things and how they move and how they go from play to play and how they set up their counter moves and the next moves that they use during the third and fourth quarter. So yeah, I've been watching a lot, and I've also been watching film on myself from the 2019 season and looking at all the things that I could have done better. I feel like if I played this year, I would have made a lot of strides, and I see a lot of things that were just really young in my game that I can't wait to get to the next level and improve on.
Let's talk about moves for a little bit. Pass rush moves are so important when you're playing along the edge or even on the interior. And people talk about edge defender versus offensive tackle a lot like they do cornerback versus receiver. You're playing the matchup. You have to beat them with technique. You have to do these different things. Like a release for a wide receiver is like a pass rush move for an edge defender. What's your take, and where are you at right now with adding pass rush moves to your tool belt? Do you have a primary move? What counter are you working? I'd love to hear more about that.
The counter I'm working on is just being able to long arm off of different things. Like let's say I throw a scissors and it doesn't work, just being able to long arm and convert and maybe go under the offensive tackle from ready to level the quarterback. I've been working that. I learned the cross chop from Chuck Smith. That's a pretty cool move. I can't wait to use it, especially I feel like it'll work good inside just because you get that jump, that kind of like that jump through when you just create that space. So those are two moves that I've really been looking at. Also been working to spin a little bit.
You have to.
I didn't do that much in college, but you got to have a spin every now and then just to keep them honest and to kind of throw them off. And yeah. But really, I feel like you can't work too many moves because it's like it's better to be good at one kick and practice it 1,000 times than to have 1,000 kicks and practice them all one time and not be too good at any of them. So I feel like just finding a few moves that you know how to use and just having that one, two, maybe 3 counters off of that move, I feel like it really sets you up for success.
Yeah, when I've talked to other edge defenders, a guy that comes to mind is LJ Collier, who was a first-round pick for the Seattle Seahawks a few years ago. And his big first move was the bull rush. And it's like, hey, man, don't you need a counter? Don't you need other moves? He says, I only need one other move, and it's a counter. And I'll find it. But right now, my bull rush is my primary, and I'll find a counter. I think I've heard that from multiple guys. That's interesting. You have that take as well. I want to talk – let's talk about another number 15 from Miami. I know you didn't get an opportunity to play with him in 2020, but Jalen Phillips, former 5-star, played at UCLA for a couple years, then transferred to Miami. Miami. I know you said you watched every single Miami-Florida game this year. What's your opinion of his game? Because that's another guy with a ton of tools, a ton of talent along the edge that was playing for Miami this year.
Oh yeah. And the thing with Jalen, bro, one, he's a freak of nature, and two, the hype is really real. You know, like even me just watching when I was watching Miami games, he really pops. Like when you watch a game, he just pops out the screen. Does a lot of great things. He can play inside, outside. He's super athletic, really versatile, and he also knows how to use his length for sure. See him throw a couple long arms with some chops. And I feel like he's gonna be a great player for sure. And he's legit. Jalen's legit, 100%.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of him. He's been mocked in the first round. You're obviously mocked inside the top 20 a ton. So I definitely excited about the prospects of both of you guys, man. I really appreciate you.
I feel like it'll be super cool to see us both like go first round, God willingly. That'll be a blessing. Like from the same school, we got the same number. Like I don't think that's ever happened. You know, like that's gonna be crazy. I hope it happens. I'm praying for it to happen. It's gonna be dope.
That would be awesome. I mean, they might have to retire the number after that or just give it to the best player. Who knows? Miami might have to have a tradition on their hands. Well, I really appreciate you coming on the pod. We'll have to get you on maybe again soon, maybe after your pro day or something along those lines. Talk more about your stock, the NFL draft, all those things. But again, best of luck, Greg, and I appreciate you.
For sure. Thank you.
Cool. In and out, baby. In and out in what, 11 minutes? Love to see it. Well, I really appreciate it, man. I hope you I know you're staying busy, but hopefully you find your breaks as well and have fun watching the Super Bowl.
For sure. You too. Who you got?
I got Chiefs, man. I like Chiefs by 4. They're favored for a reason. I know it's in Tampa Bay, but I just can't quit Patrick Mahomes, man. What about you?
Yeah, I got the Chiefs. So I feel like at this point, you can't. It's hard to bet against the Chiefs because
you can't. Yeah, I don't want to bet. You're telling me I want to spend my Super Bowl Sunday betting against the Chiefs? Like, God, no. I want to watch Patrick Mahomes and root for the guy because he's like honestly the most fun to watch player in football right now. What are you doing for the Super Bowl? You just hanging out? Are you hanging out with guys from Exos, or what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I probably watch the game with guys from Exos for sure. Yeah.
Who are you hanging out with down there? I know Tutu Atwell is down there. Some other guys as well.
Tutu, Nico Collins, Chris Rump, Aziz, Ojulari from Georgia. So
Talk about a cross chop. Aziz Ojulari's got the cross chop down. That's his favorite move for sure. I talked to him. He was on the podcast a couple days ago. He's a fun guy.
He's legit too. It's been fun working with him, and it's really fun to be out here working with different people because you really get to see like, oh, he does this well. You know, you get to take little things from other people's game and kind of just you can kind of incorporate it into your own game. So it's been pretty cool working out here and meeting new guys, especially the new edge defenders that are out here.
I bet, man. Well, I wish you, like I said, wish you the best of luck moving forward. Maybe we'll get you on again.
For sure. Be safe, bro. Thank you.
You too, man. Bye. The lineup we have for interviews is awesome. Gregory Rousseau, a great addition for Monday. But I'm telling you what, I have a lot of other really good ones lined up here. Let me read you some of these guys. I have coming on the pod, Elijah Moore of Ole Miss. You're going to get Sean Wade of Ohio State, Quinn Miners of Wisconsin Whitewater, Annalee McNeil of NC State, all lined up for this week. And that's
some
more
fun to watchers there.
There's some fun to watchers in there. I also got some NFL guys potentially on the hook. Tristan Wirfs has been on the podcast twice. Might bring him on after winning the Super Bowl. Also might bring on Antoine Winfield Jr. He's been on the podcast before. We're making moves here. And I really do like the structure of running a pod and then let's play some interviews, talk to some of these guys because I do think it adds nice context and those things. But Gregory Rousseau, an awesome get. And we're going to continue to talk to these prospects all through. My goal is to get to 100 guys. I want to talk to 100 guys in this class.
Wow.
And,
it's a lot of guys.
It's a lot of guys, but I'm going to make a play for it.
We're going to be like talking to guys who are like, yeah, we got a 7th rounder on you. What do you think?
If they got a good background, I'm all in. You know, there's some good backstory.
I was going to say, they're going to sell you over if they have a notebook of opposing defensive linemen.
That's all I need. That's all I need. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of 2 for 1 Drafts. Make sure you leave a 5-star review. Send me a screenshot in the DMs. I'm giving away draft guides. You better freaking send them. Let's do it. But until next time, Gayle, producer Mike Quinn, Mike Renner, 2 for 1 Drafts.